Oh, hey there. Didn't expect to find you on this fine evening. But here we are. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take you on a little journey. And we're gonna discuss how I took this sketch from last month's sketchbook and turned it into this posable art doll, complete with fully functional limbs, a bow and arrows, and a snazzy little cape with a little, look at that little leaf. Oh, so cute. It's gonna be lots of fun. I enjoyed this project immensely, and I can't wait to share it with you. So, without further ado, let's hop to it. So, going into this project, I knew I wanted to design a female adventurer, and I put this on my Instagram story with all these tiny little surveys of different attributes for our character. And so my followers voted, and they gave me all sorts of wonderful suggestions. We came to an interesting conclusion, and I took all these notes down in my sketchbook, and I got to designing. So, let's head over to that. So here are the results from the Instagram stories. She was about middle of the pack for age, so 11 years old. I ended up bumping it around to like 15, 16. She has practical clothing. She has a bow. That was the most commonly suggested weapon. I ended up scrapping the backpack. She's a veteran adventurer. She's lanky, and she's an elf. She's a ranger. She has a floral tattoo, freckles, piercing, purple eyes, and white hair. So here's just some design sketches I was doing. She's young. She has a flower tattoo, and then we hopped on to some more costumey designy stuff. In 4 iterations of costumes, I ended up combining elements of all of them. I like the cloak here and the cape here, along with, I did boots like this for the final. Here is the tattoo design, the floral tattoo design. So I was just trying to wrestle through in my head, how does a 14 or 15-year-old female elf become a veteran adventurer? Like, that's pretty young. So the idea that I landed on was that she was part of like a Black Widow style school where they like train up these elven warriors and go have them carry out espionage missions all around. And it's called the Nerium Order because the Nerium oleander is a flower that is poisonous and is found all over the place, and no one knows where it comes from, which I think is kind of mysterious and cool for like an organization. And then so also all the characters at this school have flower names. So her flower name was Chrysanthemum, but later on in the character design process on the Instagram story, someone suggested that her actual name be Luna Tisby, which I really liked. So that's what we settled on. But anyway, she was part of this order and she didn't like it, so she used her skills to escape. And so that is what she's doing now. She's just living her own life. But the flower tattoo is on her neck. So I'll show you that later as we get into the process. And I did this drawing of her costume first. And I was like, I like it, but I don't think I have pink material. And I had lots of nice green material. And this also fits the ranger motif a little better. So this is the design that I settled on. And at that, I was ready to head into making an armature and sculpting. So let's get to that. Okay, so I have sculpted an armature and a little head thing that we will wire to the spine once we are done. I followed a tutorial that I will link in the description. It was helpful, and we are going to get to sculpting the face. Oh, there we go. And the boots. The boots are just going to be sculpted directly on here, and I will sculpt the hands elsewhere and then stick them on there. So let's get to it. Sculpting the head was very difficult. There was a fine line between making her look like a gremlin and having her look like an actual elven lady. The painting definitely saved my bacon there, but it was a learning experience. The only other face that I've sculpted was an old man, so there I could like play with the wrinkles and really play it up, but here it was difficult. But it was a learning experience, and you know what? That's what we're here for. Okay, so we have all of the pieces of the body on the armature. Got the boots there, the hands, which are rotatable and removable, and then we got the head, which is also rotatable and removable. We made a tentative body and arms out of tin foil and taped them in place with some washi tape. This morning we are going to make hair, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to make a skull cap out of this white material and then just use thread for the hair, so this might be very tedious. We shall see. So let's get to it. This turned out actually to be a little less painful than I anticipated. I used the skull cap idea, and then I put cotton on top of it, and then needle felted that to the skull cap, and then just used thread over top of it to get the illusion of hair. And yeah, it worked. I'm quite happy with the result. Okay, so we've made this little mat of hair that I'm going to end up hot gluing onto her scalp. It might be awkward. I'm not sure how I will make it fit. And then this, I'm going to put some more thread around. That will be her bun. And then we have a headband that will hide the seam between her skull and the hair pad. And then I have these two little braids that'll go dangling from her ears. And now, before I glue all this stuff on, I am going to paint the skin and all the clay parts of her. So that's what we're gonna do next. This was one of the highlights of the process. I had a great time doing this, even though she was a little wrinkly. It wasn't the smoothest sculpt job I've ever done, so that made her look a little old. I had to work around that. As you can see, I was enjoying the Muppet Show while I was doing this, because it's the Muppet Show, guys. A little bit of Rogue One, a little bit of the Muppet Show. Good times, good times. Okay, so the face has been painted and I have put the hair on. It actually turned out much better than I anticipated. Like, it looks pretty sweet. I might do a little bit more on the eyes. They don't quite look right, but I am happy with the hair. I need to get a little ornament to put the headband together. I'm gonna have to draw on the tattoo. And then I guess it's time for costume design. Here are the boots. They got dry brushed, and then here are the hands in the gloves. Yeah, next step would probably be sewing her outfit. Oh boy, oh boy. Hello everybody, and we are back with a little update here. I did not time-lapse this today, but I did bulk out the torso with some cotton and then wrapped it with cloth. I do need to do another layer of cloth around the chest here, and I'm probably gonna add like a collar, and then we're gonna make the cloak to go on top of that. I also repainted the face a little bit and sanded it so she's less wrinkly now, and I think she looks younger. Let's go! Now, this probably was the longest part of the project. I was hand sewing her pants. Big mistake. I should have waited till my mom gave me the lesson on the sewing machine, but I didn't. So I hand sewed her pants, and I ended up having to do it twice because the first pair was much too small. But I repurposed those and made them into her sleeves. So recycling is the way to go. As you can see now, I've moved on to her jacket. It's a different material, but I made a couple different variations, but I was quite happy with the one I ended up with. And then I moved on to the belt that would wrap around there. So we're just moving along, guys. Here's her without her coat. It's a little rough. I might do some more layers of cloth, but basically a lot of hot glue and a lot of strips of cloth. That's how I built it up. Her hands are removable, so if I need to make more, I can. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. She's very posable, and I just need to make a cape and a quiver, and then I think we will be done. So we will move on to that. Okay, so I have done some working ahead here. I've added some accessories and such, but I'll just show you what we got so far. As you can see, we've added some earrings, super glued them to the ears there. Here's the cloak that we sewed. It's 3 panels stitched together there and down the sides here. We got the bow slung over the shoulder here. It's a piece of armature wire that I painted. As you can see, I need to touch it up a little bit. Here's a canteen, just modeled that with Sculpey and then wrapped some thread around it. So let's take that off. Yeah, so on the belt we have a dagger there, thread wrapped around the handle. The gauntlets were also modeled out of Sculpey, and then I colored them with liquid chrome and then did a varnish coat so the liquid chrome wouldn't scratch off. Now we get to the sewing machine portion. I ended up going over all of the seams of the coat with the sewing machine because that material was really coming apart, and my mom helped show me how to use this thing to make it sturdier. And then here is me working on the cape. I sewed in 2 little buttons so that I could clip it, and then I burned the edges there to make sure that it wouldn't fray. now I'm working on the arrows, just a bamboo skewer that I cut up and I sewed the quiver. It was pretty simple. There's me burning the edges of it to make sure it won't fray, and here's me finishing up the arrows. I cut all the fletchings out of paper and then actually ended up dipping them in the varnish just to give them some extra durability, and I made 2 of them actually be able to clip onto the bow for the photo shoot that I would take later. And now the grand reveal. So we had this concept design, and after probably around 20 to 30 hours of work, we got this model, ladies and gentlemen. I am incredibly pleased with how she turned out. Here are her accessories. This guy can get strung on her belt, but I will just show you her outfit deconstruction. So we have the cape with the clasp. I just hot glued the leaf on top of the clasp, and as you can see, I kind of drew a leafy pattern on it just because she's a ranger and she likes that camo life. Here is the belt that I can string the quiver on if I want to. And it's falling apart, but we're gonna ignore that. And then here, as you can see, I did do a little bit of editing to her outfit there. I gave her a belt and kind of like these cool shoulder pad things, which I really like. I had to do some repairs on her hand because after the photo shoot she was kind of falling apart, but it was worth it. And there you can see her Nerium Order tattoo right there. So I really hope you enjoyed coming along on this journey with me. I had an absolute blast making Luna Tisby, and without further ado, here is a photo montage followed by some me and Luna bonding. Let's get to it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is how I created Luna Tisby, or Chrysanthemum, as she is known in the business. But it was an absolute pleasure to have you come along. And now, I'm afraid we must say goodbye. We'll see you in the next video.